Okay, hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Computer Science for Everyone. And in this third video, we're going to make the controller class for our DVD store assignment. So the controller class is the class that's going to essentially manage the whole program, and therefore is where our program is going to begin. And therefore this has the main method, because in Java programs, the main method is where everything begins. So where the Java program begins, that's the main method. And we can only have one per Java program, at least one per class maximum. If potentially in our Java program, we could start the program in different ways with different classes. So we could technically have more than one main method in a program, but only one per class. With our small programs like this one, where we only have one starting point, and we only have one main method per program. So our controller class is going to have the main method. We can of course have our comment here at the top saying this is the controller class and this is what it does, but for now I'm just going to ignore it. It's not that important in a small program like this. So what we need is in this controller class to ask the user for what they want to do and to deal with that input. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a method that is going to display the menu, and this is actually going to be private. Okay, so we have a run menu method that is simply going to display what choices the user has. So for example, press 1 to display all available DVDs. I actually have no idea why my cursor has disappeared. I don't know what is wrong with it. Press 2 to rent a DVD. Okay, so this is the choices the user has. Press 1 to display all the available DVDs, press 2 to rent a DVD, and then enter your choice. And here the user will input either 1 or 2. So how is this method going to talk with the main method? We could either have all the functionality in this method, so now the user enters the number, and then we decide what to do, display the DVDs and rent DVDs. But this method is called run menu. It's only meant to essentially display the menu, not run the whole program. So maybe calling it display menu would be a better name. In order for this method to talk with the main method, it's going to have to return a value. I'm going to go for an int, and then this method is going to return either 1 or 2 depending on what the user chose. This is so that this method can talk with other methods. And then we create a scanner class. We have to import it, of course. And Eclipse has now froze. Okay, there we go. Seems like the mouse is not working very well. Okay, so now we have our scanner, and we can read the integer the user is going to write to us. So int input equals scan.nextInt, and then return input. So now the user will put 1 or 2. This will get assigned to our variable input, and then we'll return that. And now whenever we run this method, it's going to ask the user to either input 1 or 2, and we'll get that number back. So we can do that. And we can simply say, for example, system println welcome to our DVD store, and then int input equals display menu. Remember that we can call this variable whatever we want, and this display menu doesn't work because it isn't static. So There we go. So let me explain why this didn't work. The main method is static method, which means there can only be one per class. What I mean is if we create many different controller objects, they will all have the same main method. Static methods cannot interact with non-static methods. So what we have to do is create a controller object here. So this is essentially instantiating itself. And then we run the display menu from that object instead of running it from the class. So if we remove the C, we are running display menu as in here. If we use the C, we're running that object's display menu. Because display menu is not static, we cannot run it like this. And it's quite complicated how that works. I'm not going to get into that right now, but just know that's the way it goes. So now we have the input variable, and we can decide what to do, either display all the available DVDs or rent a DVD. So if input is 1, else we do something else. If the input is 1, we're going to display all DVDs. And here we're going to rent a DVD. Ask the user for DVD name. Okay, so to display all the DVDs, we're going to need a store that has a list of DVDs. So we need to create that as well. And here to display the DVDs, we do store dot display, can't remember what the method was called, list DVDs. There, and to rent a DVD, it's rent DVD, and we need the name. In order to get the name, once again, we create a scanner. And we simply do that. So we create the scanner, we get the name, which is the next line, and then we rent a DVD with that name. And this rent DVD returns true or false. However, we already print here the DVD is taken or not in our list, so we're not really going to do anything with that because the method itself already tells us what went wrong if something went wrong. So now we can list the DVDs or get one DVD, but we can only do this once because it's going to start, then we're going to display the menu, and then we're going to either list the DVDs or rent a DVD, and then we're going to finish. So we'll probably want to put this inside a loop so that it runs over and over again. And we can do that, of course, simply by getting this scanner, putting it here, and then while input is not equal to 0, like that. And of course, input is defined inside the while loop, so we're going to have to define it outside the while loop as well. Okay, so if the user inputs 0, we exit, and if not, we continue. -1 is the default value because -1 will not affect anything. -1 will not exit or display a DVD or rent a DVD. So I should probably put this here as well. Okay, and now here we have it. A way to display the DVDs, a way to list them, and a way to exit. We can try and see if this works and what happens. Of course, we're not going to have any DVDs to start with, which I just realized, so probably adding a couple here is a good idea just for testing purposes. DVDs dot add new DVD, and here we give it name, cost, and availability. So something else like can't think of any DVDs right now. Frozen, and then 13 True. Okay, so now we have 2 DVDs. Obviously we'd need a way to add DVDs to the store, which we never implemented, so there we have something we can implement as well, which should be quite easy. Okay, so let's try and see what happens if we press run. Welcome to DVD store, press 0 to exit, 1 to display all DVDs, 2 to rent a DVD. So let's press 1. Okay, so the Matrix price 15 is available true. Okay, so we have 2 DVDs, press 2 to rent a DVD, and then we can enter the name. Okay, and nothing got displayed, so technically probably we got the DVD, and now Frozen is available false. So obviously this program is not very usable. As we can read, we can barely tell what's going on. So the first thing to do is probably go back into our store class, and when we rent a DVD, before returning true, print and the DVD was rented. This is probably a good thing. Tell the user that he got the DVD. Next thing we can do is make it so that before the menu appears, we get a couple of new lines so that the menu appears a bit farther down. What else? Fix the DVD printing. So here, I'm going to use \T instead, and let's try again. So now we have a couple of lines here. Okay, this is a bit more readable. It's not too great, but it'll do for now. You can always play around with it. And then if we rent a DVD, the DVD was rented and it's not available. Okay, so a tiny bit better. The last thing we would want to add in our program would be something that we forgot actually in the previous video, is a way to add DVDs to our store. So that would be fairly simple. We simply go back to the store. And this is essentially showcasing how you can start writing a program, get to the end, and then realize you were missing something and just go back and add it, and then retest, and then go back. For example, we could find out the DVD class is missing something, we go back and add it, and then press play again, and things like that. We don't have to finish the whole program before implementing the controller or anything like that. There's always some things we can add later on, or maybe we just forgot to add them or we didn't notice. So yeah, don't worry about doing a few iterations of your code as well. So here, public void add DVD, and I'll explain what I'm doing here. So I'm creating a method called add DVD, and we give to it the name and the cost of the DVD. If we're adding a new DVD into the store, we assume that it's automatically available because we just added it, so no one has it yet. So we simply add a new DVD with name and cost and true for availability, because that makes it automatically available. And then we can add here, press 3 to add a DVD. Although we probably wouldn't want to let our users do this, but you know. So now our menu is updated, we can add a DVD, And back in our main method, we want to add that functionality as well. So if input is 1, we display the DVDs, else if input is 2, we rent a DVD, else if input is 3, we add a DVD. So once again, string name is a scan next line. And for the integer, don't know if you remember, when we started reading integers, we found there was a small bug reading integers. Or actually, that might be in a later video. I'm a bit confused. What I'm saying is that when you read an integer, there is a couple problems with them, and it's difficult to read strings and integers with the same scanner. So what we usually do is create different scanners for integers, or floats or anything like that, and strings. So we read the string with the scan, and we'll read the cost with the double scanner. And then we can simply do store add DVD name cost. Okay, so I know I'm going quite quickly in here, but you should have already tried making this by yourself a couple times, and you should already be somewhat familiar with what I'm doing. So that's why I'm going quite quickly. So we have our way to display the menu, and then in our main method we actually run the methods from the store. And remember, the store is an object that we create inside our main method. It is not a class variable. And yeah, let's see if we can add DVDs. So here we are, we display all available DVDs. We have The Matrix and Frozen. Let's add a new DVD, and here comes the problem. I can't think of any DVDs. So Pulp Fiction, and then the cost is going to be 15. Okay. And then here we have it, The Matrix, Frozen, Pulp Fiction. A way to improve this would of course be like that, telling the user what they're writing. Like so. And then of course it would be all quicker. So now we have The Matrix and Frozen. We want to rent a DVD. The DVD was rented, and there we go. Okay, so this is the code for the controller class. Hopefully, I know I went quite quickly, making it quite quickly, but hopefully you already were familiar with what I was doing. You can always re-watch it a couple of times, and the code will be available in the very next lecture. I'll have the links to the 3 bits of code so you can see and have a look. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next section.